There had been some rain overnight, but not enough to cause a problem for the crews. As always, there were last-minute preparations before the 8 o'clock start and 3 torturous laps of the 115-kilometer route that included thick sandy sections, rocky outcrops and the odd mud hole. The moment of truth finally arrived for the survivors of the prologue as Gary Berthold and Siegfried Rousseau led the field away.
Let's begin.
The Nissans of Grobler and Cox were up next.
Let's begin.
Alfie Cox and Ralph Pitchford were hell-bent on taking the fight to teammates Grobler and Jordan, while reigning special vehicle champions Atang Makhegenene and Bux Carolan were aiming for a hat-trick of wins on the Nissan Dealer 400.
Let's begin.
Robert and Gareth Walk shared driving duties in the super paved Chenoweth, with Father Robert behind the wheel for the first stint. Victory had so far eluded Terence Marsh and Michael Whitehouse in the Nashua Mobile Bat Spec 1, while in Class D, Mark Renier and Chris Birkin would be going all out in the Castrol Toyota Hilux 2.7i to stay ahead of the championship-leading Ford Ranger of Manfred Schroeder and Alex Harris, who would have a power and torque advantage over the Toyota.
Let's begin. Let's begin.
Bevan Berthold and Nick Salamolela were on a charge in the iBurst Bat Spec 1 and had gained 2 places. Grobler and Jordan overtook Berthold and Rousseau when the Special Vehicle Championship leaders crashed into trees after a front suspension bolt broke. Reigning production vehicle drivers champion Grobler was in top form and had opened a 2-minute 30-second lead on Alfie Cox and Ralph Pitchford, who were content to maintain their position on the road and preserve the Nissan hardbody at all costs. Makhegenene and Carolan were the new leaders in the special vehicle category and quite happy to dictate the pace from the front. Robert Walk, who is a veteran off-road racer and has won more than his fair share of events over the past 30 years, was being hunted down by Marsh and Whitehouse, who seemed more at home with a manual transmission than the automatic fitted to the Jimco, being now raced by Will Battershill. Berthold and Salamolela were on a mission to make up as much lost ground as possible and easily got past Schroeder and Harris in the Ford Ranger. Next to fall victim to the charging Berthold were Mark Renier and Chris Birkin in the Castrol Toyota Hilux 2.7i. Battershill and Sutton had settled down well into the Jimco and had made up 2 places, while Cronier and Birkin had a slight lead over rivals Schroeder and Harris in the battle for Class D honours. Cronier wrong-slotted and Schroeder took full advantage of his mistake to grab the Class D lead. Further down the field, Class B Championship leaders Hutchison and Ormerod had no answer for leaders Corbett and Goosen, who were in pursuit of Class E leaders Chris Visser and Japie Badenhorst in the Toyota Hilux, and Class D contenders Yuri and Andre Duplessis in the BB Auto Nissan Hardbody. Corbett and Hutchison had a horde of production vehicles and Class S challengers Nardus Alberts and Colin Hunter in the Rapsa Raceco right on their tails. You're on board with Corbett and Goosen as they come across the wrecked bat of Berthold and Rousseau. Fortunately, neither of the crew was injured. "40 minutes into the race, and Hannes Grobler and François Jordan had extended their lead over their proudly South African Nissan teammates. Barring any mechanical problems, Alfie Cox and Ralph Pitchford were under no threat from any other production vehicle and could afford to hold station behind their teammates. Bevan Berthold and Nick Selemolela were in top form and setting a fast pace in the I-Burst bat, but not for long. Berthold ran wide passing through this farm gate and hit a large rock, damaged the front suspension. Makhegenene and Carolyn regained the lead in the total Jimco, but Marsh and Whitehouse were dangerously close. The Walks dropped a place when they stopped to replace a flat wheel. Berthold and Selemolela were eventually forced into retirement. Battershill and Sutton were fifth in the special vehicle category and were driving the Jimco the way it should be driven. Team Ford Racing pair Manfred Schroeder and Alec Harris were third overall in the production vehicle category and first in Class D, ahead of rivals Cronje and Birkin. The crews certainly take a pounding in the cockpit and even on relatively smooth roads. The long straights and the thick sand made the going tough for the Castrol Toyota Hilux 2.7i driven by Mark Renier and Chris Birkin. Hutchison and Ormerod got the better of Corbett and Goosen when the early Class B leaders had to stop to replace a flat wheel. The Motorite Racing bat is immaculately prepared by Hutchison, who is a former quad racer. Hugo de Bruyn had to race solo after his father was sidelined with food poisoning, and to make matters worse, he was having power steering problems on the Class E leading Castrol Toyota Hilux 2.7i. Early Class E leaders Visser and Badenhorst weren't far behind in the Tyco Trucks Toyota Hilux 2.7i, while Ernest Corbett and Warwick Goosen had to pull out all the stops to make up time on Hutchison. Dion Skuman and Jan Syme had moved up to third in Class D in the Nissan Motorsport prepared top car Nissan Hardbody and were being chased by Paolo Piazzamusso and Oki Fourie in the Castrol Toyota Hilux 2.7i. KwaZulu-Natal-based Clint Gibson and Marcel Trethiwi were 8th in the special vehicle category and on a charge in the Gibson plant hire bat, while Henry Zamatten and Bodo Schwegler in the Mastercraft Ryobi Mitsubishi were 5th in Class D. Gavin Cronje and Robin Houghton dropped down the order after they had to make do without wipers for much of the first lap. Nell and Peter Newbury started 28th in the Luck ATE Zarco Light and had rocketed 7 places up the leaderboard, while Zane Pierce and Henny Vosloo were third in Class E in the Castrol Toyota Hilux 2.7i. Do you have a need for speed? Then sit back and compare the speeds of the vehicles in the different classes. Hannes Grobler and François Jordan did some low flying in the Class F Nissan Hardbody. Special vehicle category leaders are Tang Makhegenene and Bux Carolyn in the Class A Total Jimco. Class D leaders Manfred Schroeder and Alec Harris in the Team Ford Racing Ranger. Evan Hutchison and Trevor Ormerod in the Class B leading Motorite Racing Bat. Class E leaders Chris Visser and Jaapie Baardnost in the Toyota Hilux 2.7i. Grobler and Jordan controlled the pace on the Nissan Dealer 400 and were never in any real danger of being beaten. Cox and Pitchford were still second in the proudly South African Nissan Hardbody. Makhegenene and Carolyn had a comfortable lead in the special vehicle category, but couldn't afford to relax for a second because Marsh and Whitehouse were an ever-present threat, as were Battershill and Sutton. The Walks were still very much in contention and quite capable of pulling off a surprise win. Manfred Schroeder and Alec Harris were in total control in Class D and had opened up a 2-minute lead on a hard-charging Mark Renier and Chris Birkin. Hutchison and Ormerod held a slender lead over Corbett and Goosen in the battle for Class B honours, while Hugo de Bruyn was still the Class E leader in the Castrol Toyota Hilux. Corbett and Goosen had Hutchison and Ormerod in their sights and continued to pile on the pressure. Gibson and Truthiwi made steady progress in the Gibson plant hire bat, while Nell and Newbury had made up another 4 places in the Luck ATE Zarco Light. John Weir-Smith and Jeff Minnett started 41st in the Kopanong Hotel Super Team Jimco and had made up 31 places by the end of lap 1.